Hi, this is Jill Heimiller, and I'm here with Lauren Kiproff-Downer, and she's going to be my guest today on this podcast call. I'm interviewing entrepreneurs and other business savvy professionals trying to help you get tips and tricks and grow your network. So, Lauren, hi, I would like you to just introduce yourself and your business and tell people what you do to start.
Well, hi, Jill. I appreciate you welcoming me. And hi, everyone listening. My name is Lauren Kiproff-Downer. I am a master's level organizational psychologist and the owner and operator of Prepara Organizational Development Consulting. Um, Organizational development is kind of my area of focus. I work with small and mid-sized businesses
Awesome.
that are looking for help when it comes to culture, people engagement, the sorts of things that keep the work environment being the kind of place where people can thrive and really be self actualized. So I'm thrilled to be here, thrilled to answer any questions you
That's
have.
awesome. No, I love that. I think this is something that I know myself, I mentioned before that I had not, when I saw like organizational, I was like, what? This sounds so cool, especially in the realm of like behavior and understanding people. And so I'm curious to hear sort of how you got into this, like what your path was there. And then I guess we can dive in more to your day to day and what you do with clients.
Absolutely. Well, my story is a story of change. I'd never, like what you just said, I'd never heard of organizational psychology earlier in my career journey. I was actually in political science. I was
Oh,
very focused on policy development and,
yeah.
wanting to kind of go and understand that because I felt like it was such a permeating thing. And then I got finished with my bachelor's, decided I actually didn't want to be a lawyer, and was looking around going, okay, well, what do I want? What do I care about?
Yeah.
And what I realized is that I really cared about workers and creating the kind of experiences for workers where they felt like they could thrive. Okay, how do I do that? Started looking into things and discovered psychology applied to work, which is what organizational psychology is otherwise known as. Now, this was all a bit of a mind blowing miracle to me because the more I was looking into all of this, it was everything that I wanted. But like many of
Awesome.
you, I took my general psychology class in undergrad and nobody mentioned anything about that. So I'm going, oh, okay. Well, how in the world do I make that happen? Started looking into things, found a master's program not terribly far from me, found out that I had a lot of crossover credits that would work,
Oh,
reached,
good.
talked my way into the program, talked my way into an assistantship,
Good
went
for
through
you.
my program, fell completely in love. And, after I graduated, I've been working either internally in different HR and leadership development kind of roles
Mhm.
or externally as a consultant trying to, do that passionate work about changing culture. So
That's amazing.
I think so. It
I
was
love that. I think that's something that I would totally have loved also. I love that. I love psychology in general. I think just knowing how why people do things is amazing, and then how to apply it to make a workplace where we spend most of our time even better is awesome.
absolutely.
So, all right. So tell me a little about, so as a consultant, what do companies come to you for? Like, what are their pain points?
One of the main things that people will reach out to me about is engagement and retention strategies, especially
Hmm.
in this time post COVID when, everybody, there's this push and pull about return to office and
Yes.
trying to figure out what to do to create the kind of work environment where people are able to, kind of stay engaged and even really figuring out what culture means to them.
Yeah.
People will reach out with those questions. And when people reach out, a lot of times very well intentioned contacts have an idea what they want it to be,
Right.
but they lose sight of the fact that what you say your culture is, what you have written on the wall,
Yes.
isn't necessarily as important as what your employees see on a day to day basis.
Yeah.
So a lot of the work that I do really just starts with listening, having a lot of
Hmm.
conversations with the people that are impacted, and then trying to help when there are disparities between those things that are written on the wall and on their
Yeah.
website of a company
Yes.
and what the lived experiences of the employees are, figuring out where those breakdowns are happening, and then trying to come up with data informed, forward thinking ways to
Wow.
address those things so that the employees actually can be living the nature of what the website says and what the
Yeah.
intentions are.
That is, to me, that sounds like an invaluable position. And it sounds, again, things that I love, not that this is about me, but I love the like, it's almost like you're an investigator, right? It's like you're going in, you're using your background and sort of gaining access, listening, right? Listening to everyone, kind of hearing what, the CEO thinks down to the employees and bridging those gaps. And I'm sure you probably have to have some pretty uncomfortable conversations sometimes. Um, and so, yeah, I guess so. I'm curious too, what do you feel like if you had to pick, or if you have an example of like, what is something that when you're working with a company, what is like a situation that you feel might be like uncomfortable? Like to me, talking to like a CEO about how he thinks his company, everyone loves to work there, maybe, and they all don't like it. Or do you have anything like that?
So, when you're addressing a question or challenge like that with leadership, there
Hmm.
has to be a good blend of data. You have to make sure that you're not just throwing your intuitive whim at someone. They need to be able to see
Yeah.
black and white. But there also needs to be a lot of empathy and compassion because you don't want to walk in and tell somebody that the hard work that they've been doing to try to create the right dynamic, you don't want to be like, oh, hey, all this stinks. You haven't been
And
doing a good job. Like that.
yeah, you haven't been doing a good job, but do you mind signing my paycheck?
Yeah, that's not the right approach. Coming in and saying, hey, look, you've got some really, really beautiful objectives here.
Hmm.
There seems to be a disparity between what we're trying to achieve and what the lived experience of some of these employees would suggest based on what they're sharing.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And there's not going to be any kind of negative fallout. There cannot be. I will walk away from the table if I go and tell a leader, oh, hey, people are turning over for these reasons. And they're like, oh, well, they're just not working hard enough. I need to.
Yeah. No.
No, that's not what we're hearing here.
Yeah.
We need to be paying attention to what is actually being shown and approach those things with an open mind but also being
Yeah.
realistic about it.
Yeah.
And that also, I'm also very, very intentional about bringing that forward with a good dose of all the things that are already awesome, because oftentimes in those dynamics there are so many more things that they're getting right, and being
Yes.
able to share that kind of more well-rounded look at
Hmm.
the dynamics and the pain points but also the points of joy and celebration.
Yeah.
It's really important
Definitely.
to share all of that, and it makes it a lot easier for leaders to buy in when you're not
Hmm.
coming in with this whole doom and gloom, everything is great
Yeah.
kind of that. It's gotten even stronger for me as of late. I've recently received my certification in appreciative inquiry, which is a change
Yeah.
management approach founded in positive.
Awesome.
I've been using that more and more with leaders, and it's bringing in even more of that capacity for buy-in and growth. So
That's
definitely.
amazing. Well, congratulations. I think that's awesome. And as you were talking, I was thinking through, do you find that companies reach out to you when they're in like a crisis mode, or like what is like at what point are people like, looking, Googling for you?
I have found that it's either a hey, we have an ambition to try to do something really, really great. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's the mountaintop high,
Yes.
and then there is we've had an entire department turnover and we're in panic mode, come help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I hate those
I
because,
know.
when you get to the point where that many people are jumping off the ship, there's so much harm that comes because people don't walk away from things like that lightly. Nobody
Right.
wants to have that interruption to their livelihood and to their structure
No.
else. So we really want to create the kind of opportunity for fixing it before it gets to that point. But
Yeah.
we can start from where we are and keep, always forward no matter what the touch point is. But it seems like it's one of those two places. It's either, hey,
Yeah.
we just did the strategic plan, we need some help figuring out how to implement it and make it happen. We're really excited. Or,
Yeah.
oh no, the sky is falling, we're in trouble, come save us.
Yeah. Yeah. Which makes sense. I mean, that seems to be when, it's like if it's not broken, people aren't trying to fix things, but okay. And then, so how long do you typically work with a company? And I'm sure it varies, but
It
and I'm curious too. So like how long and then what is your engagement? Is it like daily you're going in there or talking or so yeah,
It
two
really
parts.
does vary. The work that I do, I've had some clients that I've been with for years. Then
Mm-hmm.
I've had some clients that it would be a 6, 12 month project
Um,
based engagement. And then once things are done, I, hand it back and then we move on. It really kind of varies based on the nature of what the need is. I spent the first half of the year working with a lovely, lovely client doing some work with curriculum realignment for some
oh,
roles that were merging into a particular role, and that
okay.
that just took a couple of months. And then there are other
Mm-hmm.
that I work on that might be a much longer scale. It all depends
Yeah.
on the time frame that is requested of me by the particular client. If we are in a building the plane as it is taking off situation,
Yes.
then I can adapt to that. If we have a little bit more runway to be thinking through how we want to approach things, then I can,
Right.
scale accordingly. It all just kind of depends on when someone reaches out what they're ideally looking for. Now, if it's
Yeah.
something where they say, "Hey, we need you to rebuild our entire HR process in 2 months," I smile and say, "I wish you the very, very best." That's not that's just not
Yeah.
going to be viable.
No. Yeah. Which makes
But
sense. No, that's awesome. And how about do you have an ideal client or do you have like favorite, like somebody sends you an inquiry and you're like, oh, yay.
it's more project sort of things than clients. I'm very industry agnostic, and I've worked from, small mom and pop businesses through, mid-size in a whole host of industries. I love culture realignments after things like mergers and acquisitions,
Yeah.
because it creates the opportunity to take the best of what's going
Yeah.
on in, multiple dynamics and figure out how to build that bridge to create a beautiful new normal.
Yeah.
But things where there are opportunities to really engage in helping people positively achieve the vision
Yeah.
when it
Yes.
for I will have my party shoes on. I get super, super happy anytime it's something like that. So
I love
when
that.
when there's anything like that that hits my inbox, now obviously I'm always excited because even when it's a bad situation,
Yeah.
it's recognizing the real meaningful opportunity to come in and help, and I
Yeah.
love that. And the my friends in my personal life kind of joke that I'm a bit of a care bear because I just get really excited about coming in and trying to
Yeah. I love that.
put those better dynamics in. But
Yeah.
you know, anytime anything like that comes my way, I get very, very happy. And
That's
anytime
awesome.
collaborate, because while I work on my own, when there are bigger projects, I do have a team of consultants that I can pull together
Sure.
and things. And I'm very much a team dynamics person, and so I practice what I preach there.
That's awesome. I love that. So you have a good network of people who you can
Yes,
work
ma'am.
with.
Indeed.
And then how about, do you notice any trends just being in, I guess I can't say like a particular industry, but I guess even just within, if you, I've never met someone else who's an organizational, psychologist, so to speak, but how or what trends would you say you've noticed with the clients that you have, and are there trends?
Uh, Definitely a few things. There is more of an excitement about trying to leverage the positives of AI, of
Mm,
artificial intelligence. Let me
yep.
specify. Earlier, I mentioned appreciative inquiry, which is a different AI,
Mm,
but trying to leverage that, but there being some difficulty understanding what the lines are between using it as a tool or
right,
potentially trying to use it to replace an entire team, which I don't
right.
advise. So kind of navigating that push and pull.
Yeah,
Another big trend or a big area on the rise is
yeah.
on psychological safety within the workplace.
Interesting.
Being able to look at opportunities to create dynamics that allow an employee to feel like they are able to, do their work with confidence, with
Yeah,
whatnot. And there are people that see that as being a great thing. And then there are leaders that are like, it's hand holding. We don't need to.
yeah,
Okay. So being able to kind of help navigate that because there's a greater demand for it. I'm
sure.
to the point where I'm doing more and more talks and engagements about how to achieve that dynamic of
Interesting.
psychological safety within a work environment. Um,
Wow.
so it's definitely on the rise, but knowing how to approach it in this
Hmm.
new nature of work
Yeah.
is, oh well, if they don't like it, they can get out. That's a choice.
Or,
Yeah.
or, or we can try something else.
So those would be a few things that I would mention right off the bat. And then beyond that, employees really wanting the opportunity to grow and develop in the work that they're in. People
Yeah.
obviously don't stay in one job for, their whole career anymore.
Right.
But when people are in certain work environments, they're far more likely to stay and stay engaged longer if they feel like there's meaningful growth happening for them in the work
Yeah.
environment they are. So I've had to have some very painful conversations with some leaders who
Yeah.
felt like previously, oh well, this is just an entry level hourly job. I don't need to offer talent development. Like, but what if they want more?
Yeah.
What if they
And
would
what
be
if they want to become, yeah, like next level? And I think that is a big, yeah, that is a big opportunity, I feel like, for companies because you do, and I've seen it so much in just other companies, like when I was working, different positions. It's like people who started out in like the call center, right, are now like the head of operations at other companies. And it's like, if you can grow that within your company and like the loyalty and like they'll have the great benefits. I mean, that's what I wanted when I was out of school anyway.
absolutely. And the competitive advantage that comes from being able to offer that and recognizing that as an area where you can really really empower yourselves by
Yeah.
recognizing that talent and helping to prop it up is huge.
Yes. Yes. That's awesome. I love that. Very cool. Well, I think, do you have any advice that you would give, I guess, to just individuals who are looking to maybe change careers or get into what you're into?
um when it comes to changing careers, if you start feeling that itch, if there's something that you're curious about, your curiosity is your strength, is your power. That
Yeah.
can end up opening really beautiful doors. So don't let the fear of change hold you back from that which could be the best thing you've ever done for
Yeah.
yourself. So, obviously make sure that you've taken the time to, kind of have the foundation under you. So if you have to kind of jump out, those three
Yeah.
to 6 months of income and things like that, obviously, but don't shy away if you've got that passion kind of calling you in a different direction, or you
Yeah.
just don't feel like you're being nurtured and fulfilled where you are. Don't be afraid of it. Don't run away. As far as shifting into the nature of what I do, if you're listening to
Yeah.
this and you think, oh, wow, that sounds fantastic, how do I get started? One thing to be mindful of: organizational psychology, while phenomenal, there is an overall recognition challenge
Mm.
that you run into, whether you're internally or externally, at least in the US, because a lot of recruiters that you're talking to, while very well intentioned and very competent, if they've never heard of it, they don't necessarily know what they're talking to you about. Same sort of thing with clients.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the number of times earlier in my career that I've had people either ask me if I was a work shrink or want to know if I could read their mind, and throwing out the yes, and you should be ashamed of yourself for
Yeah.
thinking those things, making the jokes, but notwithstanding, you know, any with that sort of change or any other career pivot,
Yeah.
have that elevator pitch, be able to talk about your why, what it means to you. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
have my particular chat that I have with organizational development and with organizational psychology with other practitioners,
Yeah.
with people like you that are competent experts in just other avenues to kind of
Right.
talk about,
And thank you.
and then business leaders who are great, but maybe they've just
Right.
never heard of it. So being able to put that in their language and be ready to kind of chat about that. And,
Yeah.
so having that 30-second elevator pitch, having that little commercial that you can pop out, whether you're in a conversation like this or in an interview, or standing in line at the grocery store and you make friends with
Yeah.
somebody, start talking, like, you never know where opportunity may come. So
Yes.
just making sure that you're ready to have that, clear conversation and practice it
Yeah.
can be just mighty, mighty when it comes to being able to help springboard you when
Yeah.
you started.
I think that is actually really incredible advice. 'Cause I know myself, like when I first started out, people would be like, "Oh, what do you do?" And it's sort of like you're just like, "Ugh," and like you tell them everything, and then you're like, "But really, what I want to do is blah 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 blah." And so if you can have that elevator pitch, that concise, few sentences, 30 seconds, I think that's great advice. Um, all right. So I am going to say that it was wonderful to have you on. And I would love for you to just let our audience know the best way to reach you, whether it's for inquiries to have you work with them at their company, or if they have questions, what's the best way for people to find you?
Absolutely. Well, the first and foremost, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm on
Okay.
there, Lauren Kiproff-Downer, and
Yep.
I am certain that I am the only one. So that would be a good place to start. Also, right now, Prepara Organizational Development .com, or Prepara Consultant at gmail.com. Now, I will
Yes.
mention I'm in the middle of a rebrand. So
Uh,
in the coming months, I will be announcing, a shift there.
All
But
right.
for now, the
Okay.
website or the email address that I use is
Yep.
preparconsulting at gmail.com, and I can give you, Jill, that.
Yes. I was going to say, we'll put that in on here.
But honestly, the easiest, no matter what's going on, I am so, so responsive on LinkedIn. So if you're hearing this and you just need a place to start, I welcome you. Please just reach out to me there.
Aw, I
We
love
can
that.
go forward that way. But just, I love connecting with people. I love talking about these sorts of things. And if any
Yeah.
of this has been resonating with you and you need the kind of help with your culture and engagement and whatnot, like, what we've been hearing, it would be my joy and my honor to team up. So please, please reach out.
Thank you. I actually already have a couple ideas in my head of people who I may have reach out to you for um, having new businesses and needing some reorganization. So we'll talk about that after. But thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope that you guys have gotten some valuable insight from Lauren out of today's podcast, and definitely reach out to her. I will put her information in the comments below. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This has been a joy. I appreciate it so very much.
You're welcome. All right.